Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Experience Maker live show. Look, I'm even wearing the logo here today for the first time ever. This is Dan Gingiss, customer experience speaker, author, podcaster, and coach. And I am so glad to have you here for this milestone episode. Unbelievably, this is episode 75. I came up with the idea to start this show before we were even talking about pandemics, early 2020. And I figured I'd just kind of keep doing it while I could find smart people to bring on the show and have great conversations with. Never did I think I knew 75 smart people, but apparently I do. And we've got yet another one here today that I'm super excited to introduce you to. First, I want to very quickly just remind everyone, as I'm going to remind you, like it or not, between now and September 14th, that I have a new book coming out, The Experience Maker, How to Create Remarkable Experiences That Your Customers Can't Wait to Share. If you have liked any of the 75 interviews that I've done so far, you will love this book. Some of the people are actually quoted in the book. And this is a practical guide to creating experiences at your organization, no matter what industry you're in, that can help you stand out from the competition. So I hope you'll check it out. It's available for pre-order now at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, wherever you get books. And again, it releases on September 14th. I just got my notice from Amazon that my book will be arriving on September 14th, so you can be among the first in the world to get it. All right, today we have a very special guest. I am super excited to introduce you to Tasha Bishop from a company called Podium that I do some work with as well. Podium is in the messaging space, and it is such an interesting space to be in right now, especially with how things have changed after the pandemic and the move to digital and the desire for digital and fast customer service. Podium is right in the middle of this. So Tasha, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Dan, and how exciting to be here on your milestone episode. It's very
75.
exciting.
How about that? That is great.
Love
And no
it.
one can ever take that away from you. You will always be number 75. It's outstanding.
Sweet. I'll take it. Thank you.
Well, so glad that you're here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for Podium.
Yeah, absolutely. So I run the customer success department at Podium, and I've been here for, I started in December, so about 8 months or so, which is exciting. It's crazy because it feels like it was yesterday that I started, but it also feels like I've been here for 10 years because this company is amazing and doing some great things and moves really fast, which I love. So my team is responsible for making sure that experience the customer gets as soon as they become a Podium customer is amazing. And you can't read it behind my head, but I have on the wall here, this is our customer success philosophy. And what we try to do is we create the ultimate customer experience to help our customers realize Podium's undeniable business value. So that's what my team does at Podium. Prior to being at Podium, I spent about 5 years at Smartsheet and worked on developing what customer success and the customer experience meant for our customers there at Smartsheet. And it was also a similar company to Podium where we ran really quickly. Started about 200 people when I started there. And when I left, we were about 2,500, working with near 100,000 unique customers. So figuring out how to create that great experience in a very scalable approach is something that I absolutely love and I'm super passionate about, which is why I love chatting with you.
Well, I apologize humbly. I forgot to get dressed for the occasion, but now I'm making up for it with my Podium hat here. So I should have worn that right at the beginning, but I forgot. There it is, though. And I love the little quotation mark. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Podium itself, the platform.
Sure. So at Podium, what we do is we are in the interactive management space. So what that means for us is that thinking about local businesses and how you work with your customers, we all know that customer engagement is incredibly important. And that is what is going to bring customers back then time and time again. So how you engage with them, from getting them into your door or onto your website to helping them book an appointment with you or engage with you in some regard, having that constant communication really creates a solid brand for you and experience for you and your customers. But it's not only that, it's like, let's help close that deal for you. Let's help you make payment. Let's help you bring them back and let them know they had this great experience. So we're going to help you provide these campaigns to bring them back in and let them know what they might be missing, or what opportunities you have available for them. It's any way you need to interact with your customer. That's what Podium does. It brings it all together in one space, which is a really exciting place to be in, especially if you're going to help a lot of those local businesses through that interaction that might not have had some very sophisticated platforms to work with in the past. It's easily accessible and they can get what they need out of the platform.
Well, that's what I love, is especially with this focus on SMS. And I've talked with enough other people at Podium to sort of hear some of the selling points. But the one that really sticks out to me is texting is how we communicate with everybody else. Why not communicate with businesses that way?
Yeah.
And I love that concept. I think it makes all the sense in the world. And at least for me, it took until really the pandemic to start seeing businesses interact with me that way. I got a lot more texts during the pandemic about updates on, when things were available or when I could come pick them up, or et cetera. But talk about the various use cases that companies are using and why texting is so effective.
Yeah, well, so I guarantee I'm going to make a bet, and I'm not a betting person, but I'm going to make a bet with you that within arm's reach you have your phone. Is that right? Like mine's right here.
It's in my pocket. Yeah, it's in my pocket.
Within arm's reach.
Here we go.
Anyone from basically the age 10 and up has their phone on them. And especially during the pandemic, this became very real, that even more experienced people, and I'll say that people over the age of like 65, 70, those that may be retired, all have a cell phone or they have an iPad, easily accessible to keep in contact with everyone.
I love that you just call those folks experienced people. That is very diplomatic.
Thank you. Yeah, and I bring that point up specifically because one of our amazing customers, he brought that to my attention. His business focuses mostly on elderly people, and there's this misnomer that people that are older don't necessarily use technology. And I made the statement to him once, and he corrected me. He's like, "That's not true. Like, this is how everyone interacts with people these days, is you have this device with you at all times, and people expect to get responses immediately." Think about the Amazon experience, right? Like, people expect immediate response to every action that we take, and that device is how you get it. Texting is how you get it. So what our platform has done is taken that convenience of text, that immediacy of response, and brought it to the forefront to help businesses run better. And so you asked about ways that we do that. So there's things of, hey, I'm interested in an appointment, or I'm interested in this business. How can I get more information? That's just texting for information. And that's either through just text alone, or we have a web chat experience. If when you go to a website, you can get that. Surveys, reviews, responses, things like that. So if you go to visit a business, and I'll actually tell you exact experience that I had. So I had one of our customers, Zero Res, come out and actually clean my floors. And as soon as they left, I got a text message and it said, "How was your service?" It was immediate. Right when I got the service, I was very interested in the outcome. I click on it, and within 10 seconds, I could put a review in place. So for that company, very important. I have an immediate response. I'm very willing to do it because I just talked to the lovely man that just left my house, cleaned my floors. I'm like, yeah, I'm interested in making sure your business is successful. So those are great ways to get responses. And then that leads to bringing more customers in because you've got more reviews on the website, right? And then also now you get, as I mentioned earlier, campaigns. So now if I'm maybe not thinking about it, but 6 months down the road, I get a campaign from Zero Res and I say, "Hey, we've got a deal going on." Great. It's been 6 months. I actually do want you to come back. I wouldn't have thought about it otherwise. I'm bringing the customer back in. And it's really just keeping us all connected, because that connective tissue between us and our businesses that we want to engage with is really important. And we've got a lot going on. So let's make it easier for people to realize what they need.
Well, I was just thinking about the word easy or simple as you were talking, and especially with the power of the phones today, I'm guessing that it's not that difficult, say, to send a calendar invite when you set up a new appointment and to have it integrate right into the phone's calendar. And I think our whole lives are on these things right now.
Right.
And I think having access to that as a company is so important. But it's also, I was in marketing for 20 plus years, and whether it was direct mail or email or social media, we're always talking about how many people are going to see it, how many people are going to open it, how many people are going to click on it. I got to imagine that texts have almost 100% open rate. Is that right?
Yeah, it's much more substantial response if you send it via text versus email. And we definitely do tests between the two.
Now, what about people? Do you get pushback from consumers that say, nope, my phone is private, I don't give out my number, I don't want companies talking to me in this channel? Do you see that, or do you think that was maybe an older argument that started to fizzle out?
I think it definitely is an older argument. It's something that people have in the back of their mind of like, nope, I have my separation. It just doesn't happen. People know that this is how we engage now. Everybody's going to have their device there. Very few people want to sit in front of their computer and just read email all day long and try to figure out what's going on. So yeah, it's a very rare thing where we run into something like that.
It's also, what's strange to me, I'm just thinking through the customer perspective, is you give somebody your phone number, and what you really don't want is you don't want spam calls, right? You don't want people calling you, but yet that's not actually what they're doing with the phone number. Is they're using it for text, which is great because that's convenient. It doesn't interrupt me. I don't have to worry about it, getting spammed and all that sort of stuff. And yet there's something psychological about, but I'm giving them my phone number, right? Yeah. And it's really interesting, but yet when I've done it, it's a great experience because it's instant. It's always going to get my attention. You got to check email in order to even get to your email inbox. And then you decide what you want to open. But a text, it's boom, right there on the screen. It's there instantly. So yeah. I love that. What kinds of companies are using Podium? I know lots of companies, but give me like different industries so that people watching might think to themselves, this might work in my industry.
Yeah, well, one of the great things is it's across tons of industries. So if you're interacting with a customer, you have a use case for Podium. Even if you're interacting with not a paying customer, but as somebody else that is not necessarily part of your organization, you have a use case for Podium. And I'll give you an example of that. Is actually when I decided to move over to Podium, I was interacting with Podium through Podium with the recruiting team who is communicating back and forth. And it was such a great
something meta about that, right?
Yeah. So really great use cases for that. But thinking about the traditional local business type of engagement, we work with a ton of auto companies. So thinking about selling cars, thinking about services that come with that. You need to get your car serviced. That happens all the time, right? Hopefully not too often, depends on your car, but
right.
And, you've got home services, the scenario I just brought up a few seconds ago with getting my carpets cleaned or getting my house painted. We work with a lot of retailers, many jewelry stores leverage us, and thinking about the campaign side of it, we've got Mother's Day coming up, or we've got graduation coming up. Really good scenarios for helping bring people together. We also work a lot with healthcare. The individual I was telling you about that talked to me about my misconstrued view of text messaging with the elderly population, that they focus on hearing aids. So thinking about bringing in customers that need hearing aids, it's time to service, come and get an ear check.
Yep.
All those different type of use cases come into play for those businesses.
It's interesting. I worked in healthcare for 2 years, and I worked at Humana, and their main product is Medicare Advantage plans. So same audience, it's that senior audience. And yes, they do text, they do email, they do use Facebook. And the best thing about their texting capabilities that I certainly learned in that role is they're also very good at emojis. So if you want to get some attention, you can use the emojis. They'll go back. I think my mom, bless her heart, I don't think my mom's ever sent me one emoji. It's always the long string of emojis, right? So it's great, and I love it. And I love that. Just to give you a sense, I know this is a little off topic, but when my parents, who are in their 70s, first got an iPhone, I was really worried that I was going to have to become tech support, and that this was going to be a big, this was going to be a lot on my shoulders. They turned on these phones and immediately got it. and have had almost no problems with it, 7, 8 years later. And so you're right, it is a total misnomer that seniors can't be technologically savvy, can't figure this stuff out. And so I think it's a terrific use case. The hearing aid one's a terrific use case. Plus, you got to remember to order batteries and all this sort of stuff. And people can't remember that all the time. Hey, we are getting some questions from the audience. So I'm going to stop for a minute and bring them in. That's always so exciting. I'm going to put it up on the screen for you. Tony Amante Shepers, who is a former guest on the show, says, years ago, I sent a text to 500 plus potential clients offering a discount if they applied this week to our program. 80% never replied or did nothing. 3% asked for more info, and 17% told me to bugger off. Did they really say bugger off, Tony? I'd like to know that. How can a business make an SMS read more personal and less intrusive? Great question, Tony. What do you say, Tasha?
Yeah, I love the question, Tony. And it's very important that we think about when we're creating our campaigns or our messages or our offers to our customer, we are making it relevant to them. So if you're sending a message to them and it's not applicable to anything you've ever discussed with them or that they're interested in, they're obviously going to, hopefully don't tell you to bugger off, but they're not going to likely respond. But the scenario that I just walked through with you, Dan, and Tony, you just heard was, I just got my carpets cleaned. Clearly I care about carpet cleaning in my home. It's important to me. Give me something that's relevant. Make it necessary to the timeline where it might actually be something I'm interested in. So if they reached out to me tomorrow, probably not interested because I had it a couple of weeks ago, right? So it's all about meeting the customer where they need to be met at. So thinking about what do they need, when do they need it, and why do they want to take time to actually engage with you?
And what's in it for them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you gave the example of a review, which is great. And I agree with you that the time to ask for a review is right after a positive experience while it's still fresh. But a review is really for the company, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day. And so what's in it for the customer, I think, is something to continue to ask. And what you just described is what marketers struggle with in every channel. It's no different. We have to be personalized. We have to be relevant. And not just use it as a broadcast channel. I mean, the fastest way to get somebody to take away permission to text you is to use it as a broadcast channel and continue to annoy them, right? So don't do that, and make sure that the content that you give them is really useful. Tony, I don't know. The only thing I can get from what you said is it was years ago, and I do think that things have changed. And I do think the pandemic had a huge effect on that. We leaned in a lot more on text, whether it was a car dealership or the grocery store or the pharmacy. I was getting texts all the time from companies that I hadn't really been necessarily communicating with that way before, doctor's appointments, all this stuff. So I think there's so many more use cases now, as long as we keep it really useful. We have another question from Elijah. I wouldn't say that it is exactly on this topic, but I think it's still an interesting question. Why is it that we hear so much less about the selling experience and the beginning of a customer's journey versus hearing so much about the post-sale experience? In your opinion, Dan, what makes a world-class sales experience from the view of the prospect or client? Great question. It's funny that you frame it that way because I've actually seen a lot of the reverse, which is why my book is about the post-sale experience. It's about how to keep customers, not just how to get customers. And I think in a lot of organizations, there's so much focus on the sale and very little focus on what happens after the sale. And that's part of the problem. And the concept I talk about in my book is called a leaky bucket, which almost every company has. These are customers that are leaving your business every day, generally not telling you why, and unfortunately are going to the competition. And it's because you didn't deliver on some experience that they had expectations of. And so to answer your question, Elijah, I think in the sales process, it's so important that salespeople, are not just about making the sale, they're about establishing a long-term relationship with a client. That's really important. And in order to do that, we have to make sure that once we make that sale, well, first of all, we have to promise what we know our organization can deliver. Okay, we can't overpromise and have the customer realize later that we can't deliver on it. But also, what's really important is that we've got to have a smooth handoff after the customer purchased something from us, signs that contract, does whatever it was the salesperson was trying to do. Now the second they do that, we hand them over to an account manager or a customer success manager. You run customer success, Tasha, so I know Podium doesn't do this, because ultimately we buy from people who we like. And so if I buy from a Podium salesperson and the next thing that happens is he says, thanks very much, I'm out, and here's your customer success manager, I'm left saying, well, hold on a second, I bought from you because I like you. And so I think that's one of the key components, is that the sales experience is the beginning of the customer experience. It's like the pre-experience, right? Because we're not customers yet, but we're still having that experience. Anything you want to add to that, Tasha?
I have so many opinions on this, but I love where you started this. And Elijah, it's a great question. I do agree that the very first engagement, and it might even start before sales, it might even started with a marketing campaign or a billboard or something, is like, soon as your brand touches that person, the experience has started, and every engagement needs to be consistent throughout. So Elijah, if you're on the sales side and you're setting that standard for this person is now engaged with us, I'm helping that experience to be a positive one. That Passover, like you said, even before it, we have to set the appropriate expectations. We can't sell what we don't have. So that's a great call out, Dan. When you do push that person to the next person they made engagement with, even if you're not necessarily going to continue on with them, it's how do we make that transition smooth? So thinking about, you spent this time building the relationship, understanding what the customer's needs are, what their goals, what their success was for purchasing the software. How do I pass that to the next person? So I think we've all been in the experience where we call some company up and we are telling them what's going on. Like, I need to pass you to this other person. And then you have to repeat that again and again. The frustration level just continues to rise. And that brand is no brand that you ever want to talk to again. And that cannot happen. So it's just good communication, correct expectations, and really taking into consideration this customer is, for us, the Podium customer. It doesn't matter your role. You are a Podium customer, and we are all in the same team together.
Yeah, I love it. And, really simple piece of advice on that handoff: make sure that the customer knows how to continue to get back in touch with the salesperson if they need to. Because look, I know you run a great customer success team and they're doing an amazing job, but sometimes you have things like personality conflicts and just things you can't predict. And if the customer wants to go back to that salesperson, first of all, the salesperson should be willing to still talk to them and say, hey, let me help you out. I'm not in customer success, but let me make sure that you get what you need, and taking that extra sort of moment. I would say that, only other thing, Elijah, because I am not an expert on sales, I'm a marketer, and I believe that salespeople and marketers are like distant relatives. They're like cousins where they share some DNA, but, marketers are used to, broadly talking about stuff to a bunch of people at once. Salespeople are about the one-on-one experience. And I think the key to being a great salesperson, and every great salesperson I've met, is that they establish a relationship with the person and they know what that person wants. And so then the question is, does Podium or whatever it is I'm selling, can it deliver? And the best salespeople are willing to say, I don't think you're right for our product. I don't think we can give you what you need, right? Which will go so far. Yeah, you won't get the sale, but I guarantee you that person will probably refer you later because you were honest with them and you didn't have them buy something they didn't need or whatever it is. But it's about getting to know the customer, which is really, or the prospect, which is really what we try to do once they become customers. So thank you both, Elijah and Tony. And we've got Alan Burks in here as well. The experience starts when the prospect recognizes the need. A competitor may frame and set context. You need to work from there.
Yeah,
totally right. I think similar to what you said, Tasha, the experience begins the first time they hear about us. Like we all know these brands. We watch a Super Bowl ad and we laugh at it. The experience has begun. We already have a feeling about that company, and we may have never heard of them. We may have never done business with them, but we've already got some thoughts about them. All right, Tasha, I can't believe it. I always say this is the fastest half an hour on the internet, and every week it continues to surprise me. Tell me about how people can connect with you and with Podium.
I love talking about experience. I get super excited and passionate about talking about great things when it comes to making that experience better. So anyone is welcome to reach out to me at any point. I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out on LinkedIn, Tasha Bishop, and I'm at Podium. And I'd love to hear comments and conversations from you. If you're interested in Podium, just go to podium.com. We have web chat on there, which will engage with us through our own services, and you can test it out for yourself, see how much you love it. It is a really great product, and I'm so excited to be working for a company like this. And one of the things that I always think about when I decide where I'm actually going to spend my time and effort in working with an organization is I have to love the product, because being a person that's passionate about experience, if you are in a customer facing role and you're not passionate about the product, you cannot be passionate about the experience you're going to give to the customer. So I'm super excited for anyone that is interested to engage. I love to hear from you, and I'm always excited to hear about new ideas on how to make things better.
That's awesome. Well, for my part, I really enjoy working with Podium. I think the product is really excellent and different from anything that I've seen out there. And I really do think that this is the future of communication, right? We've seen it in other places. Social media was really big, and then people started moving to the direct message side of social media, and Facebook Messenger and Twitter messages and all that have become so much more popular than just the broad social media space. So SMS makes all the sense in the world. It sort of continues that pattern, even more so because, as you said, we've all got our phone within arm's reach. So thank you so much, Tasha, for your time and for being here. I really appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks so much, Dan.
All right. Well, next week we are going to have yet another fantastic guest, number 76. We're just going to keep going. And that is going to be Carrie Melissa Jones. Carrie is a author and influencer and talks about communities and online communities specifically and how they can contribute to customer experience. So looking forward to that as well. I love both bringing in new experts, but also different topics. And so we're going to jump from SMS to communities next week, which I think will be really, really interesting. Hey, thank you so much for being here. As always, I really do appreciate it. We're here every Thursday, noon Eastern time. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues. We've got replays available on my YouTube channel and also on my website at dangingiss.com. You can go check all of the previous episodes all in one place. They're right there for you in a playlist. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next week. I'm Dan Gingiss, the Experience Maker. Have a great week.